Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. You can email the program anytime, arilewishow@hotmail.com. And, of course, you can email the station Israel Sports and News Radio at gmail.com. The original airing of this podcast is November 5th, 2015. What is the latest for Israel Skeleton Racing? On the line right now, back to the program, AJ Edelman. AJ, how you doing out there?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Ari.
Yes, indeed. Now, usually you're joined just by yourself when I conduct these interviews with you, but this time you have a couple of your teammates with you, so please introduce them to the audience.
Right, we have two new teammates this season, Joel Seligstein and Larry Sidney. They're both coming over from the American program.
Okay, great. So let's start first with Joel. Joel, tell us a bit how you got into this sport, because it's not an easy sport to do, obviously.
Absolutely. Ari, I used to be a software engineer, and I had just left a job and was looking for a new challenge in life. I was watching the Olympics and fell in love all again with skeleton and bobsled, and went out for a driving school on some encouragement with some friends, and fell in love with doing the sport as well. So now I'm a couple of years in to just absolutely loving the thrill of it.
Okay, how do you find, as it compares to other sports, if you played different types of sports, football, basketball, baseball, how do you find the difference between this sport and those sports?
Sure, I played a little bit of lacrosse, soccer, and hockey, so I've been around different sports. I think the biggest thing for me is that this one just has two very separate skills at different times. One being the sprint and is just an all-out explosiveness, followed by having to calm yourself down and really focus for a full minute of intense high-speed driving. And so those two separate skills together make a good slider, and it's really fun to try to learn them both.
All right, and talk about a bit of the danger of the sport, because injuries can happen, serious injuries, and do you just put that out of your mind when you're racing? I mean, I spoke with AJ about this as well. Kind of the idea that if you're thinking about the injury, it's not going to help anything. Maybe it makes it worse, more likely to get the injury. What's your mindset going into these type of races?
Ari, I'm so busy driving and trying to be better at my sport, I don't even really realize it, I think, half the time. My body on a regular basis is quite bruised up. I probably have some small broken bones or fractures, and I don't even pay attention and just go again.
All right, talk a bit about the training, what you have to do to get ready for these races. A lot of, obviously, a little bit of everything. I mean, you got, I assume, weight training, then also you have to do cardio training, cardiovascular training. So tell us what you do to train for the races.
Sure. I've done almost no cardio training. I spent the entire summer doing weight training and sprint form training. So about 4 to 5 months of just hardcore in the gym every day to work better on the starts of my sprint speed. To get ready for actual driving and studying the track, watching a lot of video from other sliders from the World Cup as much as I can, and getting hints from other fellow sliders. And then it's just get on the track, focus, and work on one turn at a time to get better.
All right, and how has AJ helped do this? Because obviously AJ's been there, done that. He's a lot of experience. So what's some of the tips AJ's been giving you?
AJ's been really helpful both on my start. We've been just this week on the indoor ice house, and he's been really helping me with my start. Just pointing out big things in my form that can be fixed really quickly, and my start times have come down because of it. On the track, just giving me pointers here and there, and really keeping my head focused on what's really important. It's really easy to look up at the scoreboard and say, oh, my time's not as good as I want, but you really need to settle down and focus on one turn at a time, and he's been really helpful to keep my focus on what's really important.
All right, and talk a bit about goals. What would you like to accomplish in the next year, and maybe after that, longer-term goals? What are you looking for?
This year, I'm really looking to do as well as I can. I'd love to get up high in these races, but I'm a new slider on tour, so I'm really looking to really learn the tracks around the world and have fun doing it and have fun representing Israel all at the same time. Really looking forward to that. As far as the future goes, it's really hard to say. I'd love to eventually make the World Cup and see where that goes, but it's really hard to tell. It's a very competitive sport.
All right, let's go over to Larry, your teammate. Larry has an interesting story. He took the sport up at an older age. So I'd like Larry to come on and tell us why you decided to take this sport. Again, a pretty dangerous sport, not easy to do. Joel talked about the bruising. So why would you pick this sport as opposed to other sports?
Yeah, hi Ari. Great to be on your show. There's something about skeleton and the rush of being on the track and going down the track. And there's a unique challenge to it. You're going 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, and you really have to stay in the moment, and you have to maintain your focus for an entire minute. And there's just no room for error. There's no room to lose your thoughts to something else. And it really is a unique challenge that's different from so many other sports that I've played. And the first time I went down the track, I loved the feeling, and I saw the challenge, and I felt like that was something I want to do more of.
Now, you have an interesting background in that you were a PE teacher for a while and coach for a while. How's that going to help you going into sport? Usually the guy is an athlete, then he's a coach, and you're doing it kind of differently. So how's that going to help you out?
Yeah, no, good point. I went through my athlete phase, high school, college athletics, and even in the years since, I've continued to compete in adult leagues and such, but not at this level. The coaching piece that I've done over the years, I've come to recognize that when you're helping other athletes, you really are still learning yourself. And you're learning while you're helping them, you're learning by going to clinics, and you're improving yourself through that process. So, basically, this is just a time again where I've left my career behind for the moment, and I'm back to focusing on me, where for so long I was focusing on the kids and my teams and the classes. And at my age, it's really special to have this opportunity, to have a body that allows me to do this, and to have this chance to really go for it.
All right, now, both you and Joel, you're going to be entering your first race, and you're going to visit 5 new tracks this season. So talk about excited, nervousness. How would you describe the feeling going into these new tracks?
Well, it's some of both. You really have this great anticipation of what is this going to be like. And the track that you've spent time on. My home track is Park City. I know the track well. I feel comfortable on that track. Coming up to Calgary, it's not that it's necessarily a harder track or an easier track, but it's a very different track. And, every track you come in, you have to start over. And Joel talked about learning one turn at a time, and that's really what it is. And so just going to each new track and trying to understand the nuances of the track, and getting help from the coaches, the other sliders, teammates, in figuring out as quickly as possible what's the best way down here, and what's the safest way down here as well, and just wrapping that all up and having some fun while you're doing it.
All right, now I asked Joel this, could ask you this as well. Tell us about some of your goals coming up this season. What would you like to accomplish both short-term and long-term?
Yeah, great question. So one goal is I've spent a lot of time in my training preparing for this season, and I'd like to see all the off-track preparation come to fruition on the track, where my start times are better than they were last year because of all the training I did in the off-season. I'd also like to continue to improve my technique, and I don't think you'll find one athlete out there all the way up to the World Cup who has perfect technique or who thinks they have perfect technique. We're all trying to improve every day out there. So I would like to take where I am right now at the start of the season and just see that continue to progress and improve through the entire season. So that's a major goal. I could get into performance goals, but the truth is each of us is doing our own sliding, and we don't control the other athletes. And if I have a great run and my teammates or some of the guys from the other countries are even faster that day, so be it. I'm okay with that. I'm really focused on my performance and my improvement through the season.
All right, again, a question to you as I asked Joel, how has AJ been helping you out?
Yeah, so I just arrived in Calgary, so I haven't had the time together with the team yet that Joel and AJ have had. But AJ has been instrumental through the off-season in working with both our federation and the international to kind of organize our race schedules, who's going to be doing which races and on which tracks and which sites, and also just guiding me through the process, because anytime that you're competing for a country, there are a whole new set of standards, there are a whole new set of expectations, and so he's really been able to lead the way for us in that regard.
All right, again, this is the Ari Lewis Show on Israel Sports and News Radio. We're talking Israel Skeleton Racing. We have 3 members of the team representing Israel. So we'll go to you guys later on in the interview, but I want to go to AJ now. AJ has a lot of interesting stuff he'd like to tell us. First, I understand that you've been traveling on the East Coast talking to youngsters about the sport, so tell us a bit about that.
Right. So over the last couple weeks, I've had the absolute pleasure of being able to visit schools in the New York and New Jersey area. I think it's one of my top gigs in life. My life's goal and mission to increase Jewish participation in sport as representatives of everyone's self and their community, their people, and their homeland. And so I got a message a few months ago from a teacher in New York who is at Temple Shari Tefillah in Bedford, Westchester County, and she asked if I could do a Skype interview with the kids to just, give them a background on what it's like to be a proud Jewish athlete representing our homeland. And I said, better yet, I'll come out and see you guys. It was always much more impactful for me to see somebody in a classroom rather than to just talk on the phone. And so I organized a trip around it, where with the help of my cousins in Englewood, New Jersey, and a few other special individuals, we were able to talk to the Mariah School, the Frisch School, BPY School, and East Hill Synagogue in Englewood about the sport of skeleton, about what it means to me, about some of the challenges that I faced in over 20 years of competitive sport, and including at very high levels, the difficulties you face as a proud Jew in sports, and to try to get their attention to the ability that they have as proud Yids, as proud Jews, to really make an impact on their fellow person, on their fellow teammates, on their fellow community, on anybody they interact with, a positive impact as ambassadors of the Jewish people.
All right, and we talked about some of the new races that your teammates are going to see, new tracks. You're going to see 4 new tracks. You're going to go to a higher level competition this year. Are you excited, pumped up about that?
I am excited. I am very pumped up about it. I think that the goal this year for me personally, I think everybody has their own goals in this sport year over year. It's not a year which makes a tremendous impact, so to speak, on what happens in 2018, 2017, 2018. So for me personally, the goal is to become as experienced a slider, as good a slider as I can. I think that graduating to that next level of competition, the Intercontinental Cup, is going to be a nice additional step forward in that. I'll be visiting Vancouver as well the other two Israeli athletes, which is the fastest and quite a difficult track in the world. Also to Koenigsegg, Germany and Bavaria, and Eagles in Innsbruck, Austria. So very excited about the new levels of competition, excited to be able to travel to Europe representing Israel and wearing Israeli uniforms, wearing kippot. It's very fulfilling in that regard.
All right, and speaking of the uniform, you got a new helmet. Tell us a bit about that. Apparently he's got a nice design and a quote from Theodor Herzl, of course, is known as the first modern Zionist, if you will, of kind of the father of the state of Israel. So tell us a bit what the quote is and why you decided to pick that quote as opposed to other quotes out there.
Well, I'd say that there's 2 new things this year. There's a new uniform. There is also a new helmet. We'll start with the helmet, and the helmet has a design of Shimshon on it. Shimshon is Samson. He's breaking the pillars. The pillars are coming down from the story of Shimshon. On one side of the helmet is the Shema, and on the other side of the helmet is Im Tirtzu Ein Zo Agada, which is the quote from Herzl, is "If you will it, it is no dream." The quote was picked because I consulted with a former football player, Gabe Adler, who was drafted, I believe, by the Saints, but went into the U.S. bobsled program, but is now headed back to Israel to participate, to rejoin Sahal. I asked him, I said, there's a lot of stuff going on in Israel at the moment. There's a lot of terror attacks going on, and I really want to make something that's impactful, and you are the only other person in the sport who I've really encountered who is very much, at this point, like me, have had a lot of time in Israel, a lot of time, we're very proud Zionists in that regard. And so I consulted him, and he said, put Shimshon on there. I said, it sounds like a great idea. Any particular reason? He said, yeah, because we got to show that just as in the story of Shimshon, Jews are very, very powerful, very strong people who can't be pushed around. And so I thought that was a wonderful quote. He also said to put the Shema on there, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to put Im Tirtzu on the other side. So that's how that helmet came to be, and it's part of it is influenced by the the Shin Bet publishes guidelines for Israeli national teams in terms of when they travel, what they can and can't wear outside of competition, and what is acceptable in terms of from a security precaution. And we receive the guidelines as we follow those guidelines as a national team, recognized by the international committee, the International Olympic Committee. So we follow those guidelines, and the guidelines are, just don't wear anything identifying you as an Israeli outside of competition, as an Israeli athlete. And so, I thought, it didn't sit very well with me. I wear a kippah everywhere, and this is one of the things I mentioned to the kids in New York and New Jersey. I wear a kippah everywhere I go. There have been ups and downs in my observance in Judaism in my life, as I'm sure there are in everybody's, but I've never, ever taken off the kippah. And that is because it's very important to remain a proud Jew. Whatever happens, for better or worse, we are Jews. And so we stick together, and we're very proud of being Jewish. And so when I got those guidelines, and I got the guidelines from my federation, I received a text actually, and, it said, how you feeling? You feeling safe? Follow the guidelines. I said, I've always worn a kippah. I always will wear a kippah. I have absolutely no intent of following that guideline. Furthermore, I went a step forward and put Israel's skeleton in big letters across my kippah. So whenever I travel, I do travel with something that says that I'm part of an Israeli team. It's really important to maintain that pride. There's no reason why we have to be shying away from who we are as Jews, because other people dislike who we are for who we are. There's absolutely no reason. So for that, that in the same vein, that's why I put on the helmet Shimshon. That's why I put Shema Yisrael. That's why I put Im Tirtzu. It's very important to me to always project a very proud Jewish identity. Now, the new suit was made possible with help by a new sponsor from this offseason. We had 2 very successful crowdfunding videos. The crowdfunding videos are viewed over 75,000 times in total. Somebody did reach out and sponsor the suit, Ariel Property Advisors in New York. And so with their help, we do have a new suit. The suit says on the back of it, on the back leg, Hebrew hammer. It says on the front, it has the 2 seals of Israel, one with the menorah, one with the flag, and then Israel in big letters on one leg, and then Yisrael in Hebrew on the other leg, so that no matter which angle somebody is looking at it from, there's also a huge Star of David on the back. No matter what angle anybody's looking from or taking a picture of, they'll always see some representation of Israel, some representation of a star or the state of Israel. So I'm very proud to be able to wear that in Europe at different competitions this year.
All right, good stuff. Again, this is another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. We're talking about Israel Skeleton Racing and Israel Skeleton Team. In the last 2 minutes we have with you guys, I'd just like to ask all 3 of you together, might sound kind of corny, but you are representing the blue and white. What does that mean to you, especially doing it on the world stage? So I guess let's go with Larry first, then Joel, then AJ.
Yeah, it's a great honor to be able to represent Israel, and it really adds a lot of meaning to the whole process. And going through this season, just feeling like you have a whole country behind you is an amazing feeling, and wanting to make everyone proud, wanting to do my best throughout, and also being part of a team where for the first time ever there are 3 of us, and we're all out there to support one another, and it's a really nice feeling in that regard too. And I do feel like it's a critical time for Israel, and on the international stage I think it can be a really nice positive to have 3 of us out there, real faces out there in the athletic world, who people can look at and say these are good people, this is what Israel is all about, and these are good people, and to have that opportunity to represent Israel in that regard too, I think is just awesome.
For me, it's been pretty amazing to support Israel. It's been very exciting, and for me, being able to tie my heritage to something I'm personally doing has been really exciting, and for Israel to be able to provide that opportunity for me has been fantastic. I've been really having a good time watching these guys and how they really support Israel as well and push for it in every situation, especially AJ, and that's really motivating to follow.
Thank you, guys. AJ here. This is, for me, representing Israel is the main purpose of having continued in sports. I think we mentioned earlier on in the first show that we did, did that there was some external factors which pushed me to pursue a level of sport beyond college. And part of that was anti-Semitism. Part of that was the experiences which I had felt, which pushed a perception that Jews could not do sport and that I was held back for that specific reason. And so representing Israel was something which became a top priority. It became my life's goal to wear the white and blue and to continue to inspire other Jews to try and do the same. So it means everything to me in the sport. I wouldn't do any sport at a competitive level anymore if I wasn't able to properly represent our homeland in some way, shape, or form, because anytime you step out on a stage, anytime somebody is looking at you, you have a very unique opportunity to influence how they view you and your people and your homeland. For most of the athletes in the sport, we're the first taste of Judaism that they experience. We're the first taste of Israelis, the first taste of Zionism. And so for Joel, Larry, and myself, every time that we have an experience with another athlete, we're very well aware that the experience that they take away from our interaction influences how they will interact with a Jew in the future, influences how they will view people in the future. And so I've been called various things in sports. I've been called crazy and nuts. I think we all have been called daredevils. I've also been called a dirty Jew. There's been names which and for sure stereotypes which have been applied, and it's not limited to this level of competition. It's every time I've ever been on a team. For the most part, there are people who've just never met Jews, and so when the three of us wear the white and blue, I think it means, there's no greater pride for us to step out there and hear that the track is clear for Israel. It's really the honor of our lives. But at the same time, not just for us, it's really an honor, I think, for other people to watch us, especially other Jews to watch us. Whenever we identify ourselves to other Yids, that we are representatives of an Israeli national team, there is a sense of pride that a lot of people do feel in saying that we are represented in a level of sport, in a sport that is not for the most part mainstream. It may be a little more mainstream in Europe and in North America, in Israel and the Middle East. It's certainly not. And so, yeah, wearing the white and blue is absolutely an honor. I think all three of us would agree. It's probably the largest honor that we've ever been given. It's not something which can be taken lightly at all. It's something which, whenever we do anything, we are proud representatives, and that's why we travel with our team gear, even though it's not advised and technically not within the limits. But I think all Jews need to realize that everything that we do is a reflection on ourselves, and there's no reason why we can't be proud in the fact that we're exceptional people, that we're an exceptional nation, that we're an exceptional community. And so that's what I'd say about that.
All right, again, this is another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Talking to Israel Skeleton Racing. You have three members of the team on. Guys, I know you've been very busy. It's amazing. The audience doesn't know this, but kind of right before practice, you guys have a practice coming up now. Is that correct?
We actually just finished the official training, the second day of official training. We have 6 days of official training before this competition in Calgary. We just finished the second day of official training. For Larry and Joel, things have gone incredibly well with learning the new track. It's not easy for two athletes to come and learn a completely new track in a couple of days. And so official training runs are used as a means to both qualify the athlete for the race. You have to get down safely in 2 of the runs at least. And in last year's Park City competition, some people didn't even make it down in the bobsled. So it's something that is not just an easy breezy task. At the same time, it's a way for us to test how rusty we are, and I think that we've all shaken off the rust at this point. We're all very proud that we've been able to go down and have ISR on those timesheets. And we're not in the back of the pack. We're right in the middle there. We're challenging some very good athletes. The U.S. have brought over a few of their World Cup athletes. There's a few Olympians in this competition. John Farrow of Australia, Ander Mirambell, a 2-time Olympian from Spain. There's quite a few World Cup athletes in the program, and so this is, even though it's not a World Cup competition, it certainly seems that the competition is at that level, so to speak. There's, I believe, 27 male sliders in the program to make it into a second run. We are all trying to make that second run in the top 20 in that program, and that is I think a terrific result that we would be looking forward to, given that this is not, for Joel and Larry, this is not their home track, and there is a major advantage to home track, to being on a home track given comfort level. I think things have just gone spectacularly well thus far.
All right, good to hear. Before we let you go, anyone out there listening, they want to support you in any way and learn more about you guys and what you do, where should they go to?
Well, I think the first and foremost resources, although the site has not been updated in quite some time, so take it with a grain of salt, Israel Bobsled and Skeletons Federation website, but it hasn't been updated since 2012, so perhaps steer clear of that. For me personally, IsraelSkeleton.com is a way to maintain in contact with myself. There's a schedule on there, an interactive schedule everywhere that I will be this season with point of view videos and everything else. There's also contact forums, ways to get in touch. If anybody is interested in having one of the athletes talk to the school, they can all talk to a school. They can also get in touch through the contact form. Larry and Joel have their own ways of getting in contact as well. I'll let them speak to you about that.
Yeah, for me, I'm just starting a new website at LarrySidney.com. That's probably going to be up and running in a few weeks. You can find me on social media, Double Iced High.
I as well. I'm on social media. You can find me at Facebook.com/SkellyJoel, SKELEJOEL.
Very good.
All right, good stuff, guys. We really appreciate it. We know you guys are very busy. You know, if you guys just finished all that training, I know if I was me, I'd probably be taking a nap right now. I wouldn't be doing a radio show. But we appreciate what you guys are doing out there. Thanks for making the time. I know the audience appreciates it. And good luck going forward, and we'll certainly do more interviews like this in the future.
Thank you very much, Ari. We're very much looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ari.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Be well, and thank you, everyone, for listening. Another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Shalom from Israel.